Hello and welcome back to Scripting the Editor with Python. So in this video, we are going to see how we can import some FBX files and with materials and as skeletal meshes. So for this, I already have my new project here. So I have my icons that I imported, and then I created my editor utility widget. So it's like the last video. It has a button and it's linked to this Python command that's right here, and it's going to import my FBX importer. So there are a lot of options and a few things to note in order to play with the FBX importer. And one of these is we're going to have to uh, create the import options and define some properties. Then we're going to have to build the skeletal mesh import data, and we're going to have to create some other functions like to read the assets from disk, and then we're going to create also the slow task, so we can create a loading screen so as it does not interrupt while it's importing. So, okay, let's get started. First, I have here my Unreal Python API documentation, and then I'm gonna go to the FBX import UI. So this is gonna be our first function, and if I go here, so it has a lot of editor properties. I'm not gonna use a lot of them, all of them, but we're gonna use some of them that are the most important ones. For example, here I can go to my script, and then I'm gonna start to import Unreal. And then I'm gonna also import OS from now because I'm gonna use the OS to import some files from disk and read the files from disk. I'm gonna start with the first function, so def build import options. And this option is gonna take an input. I'm gonna put it in there later. First, I'm gonna have to create an instance of the FBX import UI. So options here, and then it's gonna be Unreal FBX import UI. Okay, once I have that here, now I'm gonna have to define the editor properties. So for this one, I'm gonna just run through some of the options. I'm gonna call it editor properties, and I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna create a dictionary actually. So dictionary. Then if we come here, and we can see these are the properties. So import as skeletal, it's a boolean type, so it's gonna be true or false. Import textures, LOD distance, and we have a lot of other options that we can use. So I'm gonna put some of these into a dictionary, and then we're gonna set them as editor properties. So first, let's go here, and I'm gonna just speed through this part, and then we're gonna come back and see what we've done. Okay, so in this one, mesh to import, as we can see here, we have a type. So it's FBX import type, and I'm gonna navigate to see what's that about. So it's an FBX import type, and it has three types: type 1, type 0, and type 2. So we can use FBX IT animation or skeletal mesh or static mesh. So for our example here, we're gonna import some rigged characters. So it's gonna be skeletal mesh. So I'm gonna use FBX skeletal mesh. And the way we can do that is just by taking this one here, and then just add FBX unreal.fbx. type going to be FBX skeletal mesh, like so. Okay, and the second one is the skeletal mesh import data, and it's here, skeletal mesh import data, and the type is FBX skeletal mesh import data. So we can go here, and we have a lot of, this is going to be set in another function later, and what it takes here is I'm going to put skeletal mesh data, and this one is going to be passed later. So for now, I think we should be good. This one is dot. Okay, now that's the error. Skeletal mesh data, so I'm gonna pass this as an input to our function. There we go. So the second part is we're gonna need to set the actual editor properties. So options dot set editor properties and options editor properties. Then we're gonna return our options. Okay, this was our first function. So we can go and back and see what we've done. First, we did the import options. So, and we created an instance of the FBX import UI. Then we defined the editor properties for the import options, or some of them. So we're gonna import materials, import as skeletal. We won't create physics for now. Mesh import type is gonna be skeletal mesh, and we have to add some skeletal mesh data here later. So for the second function, we're gonna build the skeletal mesh data. So we're gonna come here, def, and build skeletal mesh data. Okay, this doesn't take any input, any parameter, and we're gonna create a variable called skeletal mesh data. And then this one is gonna be unreal.FbX skeletal mesh import data. So it's already there. Now we're gonna define some functions. So I'm gonna, if we come here, we can see some of the functions. So bake pivot, like convert scene units. We can also define these as variable. We're gonna see that later. We're gonna use another node. Then we can use the inputs from the blueprint, and for example, we can use tick boxes and some give the user some flexibility in what options to choose from. Okay, I'm gonna speed through this part, and then we're gonna come back and see what we're doing. Okay, we are back now, and let's see. What we've done here is we create an instance of FBX skeletal mesh import data, and to define the message import settings, and then define the various import options. So this one overrides vertex color if they exist, and then this one imports all content types. This one's going to use the built-in generation method, and then so these are the options. Some of them you can be familiar with in the by default import UI from Unreal Engine. And then what we're gonna do next is we need to return our skeletal mesh data. Okay, so this one gives us the skeletal mesh data. So then we need the function that constructs import tasks based on the provided file name and options. So basically, we're gonna need to give it a new function here, build import tasks, and this one, it takes file name as a string, a destination name, a string, and destination path, also a string. Then it will take the options that we're gonna send it later. So if we come here and then we go to asset import task. Okay, so unreal.asset import tasks. Okay, as we can see here, there are a lot of options like file name, destination path, destination name, so the parameters that we passed to the function. Okay, so I'm gonna create the parameters and we're gonna get back and see what we've done. Back, and so all the same like the other ones. We defined some properties here, like it's gonna be automated, so we're gonna avoid dialogues. We set the destination path, name and path, file name. The options are gonna pass later. We're gonna replace existent if we already have that in case we're testing, and we're not gonna save. Okay, we are going to need two functions here. So the first one is gonna be import skeletal mesh, def import skeletal mesh, and the second one we're gonna have to execute the import. So this one takes the tasks as parameter, and we're gonna use the asset tools and instantiate the asset tools. So unreal dot asset tools helpers, and then we're gonna get asset tools, and then asset tools dot import asset tasks, and then this one takes the tasks. Okay, so this is our function, and this line is gonna actually execute the import task. Okay, so the next function is def execute import skeletal mesh, and it's gonna have a few options here, so a few parameters. So game path, and I need to pass down the game path and the file name. So it's one of the parameters. So the first one is going to be mesh. We need to put in the mesh data. No, sorry. I'm going to create mesh data. And this one is build skeletal mesh data. So, and then the second one is mesh options. I'm going to gather everything that we've put before. So build import options, and this one takes a FbxImportUI. So as you can see, mesh. This one takes the mesh data. And the import task, you will create a build import tasks, and this one takes file name, destination name, and the path and the options that we've merged together. So first you're gonna put the game path, then the file name, then and here the file name we should be able to okay, so this is for the file name of the FBX, the skeletal mesh. So replace, and we will just take the extension here, FBX for now, and empty. Okay, so and then the game folder. So this should be /game /skeletal meshes. And this one, it's not on disk, it's not created here. So it will automatically create a new folder for us and put everything inside of it. So we shouldn't worry too much about that. And then mesh options. Okay, and then I'm gonna call our function import skeletal mesh and pass down the import task. Okay, now that's done. So the next function is gonna be to get the actual files from disk. So we're gonna use a little bit of the OS function that we did before. We're gonna recursively go through all the folders and subfolders and get all the assets from the external files. I'm gonna write the functions and go back and see what I'm done. Okay, so the function is done. And what we did here is just we went to external file and we got the full path. We're gonna check if it's the extension FBX. We got increment the steps. So this one is for the slow tasks. And as I said, slow task in Unreal is to create a loading screen for the any task you're running, so as to know what's happening and how it works. And the next function, it's gonna be actually gonna create the slow task. So and that's it. So this should be good. We're gonna try to test it, and of course, last one is I'm gonna run the create slow task. Okay, save. I'm gonna check if there are any errors. So if there are no errors, we can just proceed. I'm gonna come here and compile and save, and hopefully this should give us a new file. Okay, so we have an error here. Options. So it's line 48. You can go back, check line 48. Okay, oh yeah. So that's it. Typo. Come here. Port. Okay, so I'm gonna fix this and come back. I'm gonna see what's happening. Okay, so I fixed some of the errors. There were some typos, some misspelled things, and now it looks good. So if I'm gonna save and run this script now, just gonna come here and press the button, and there we go. We have our import script, and it works fine. We can see here the number of steps, and here it's showing us the name. So like it's shown here, importing, and F is the file name, and then the number of steps. Importing groups. If we come here, skeletal meshes. Everything is imported fine with the textures, the rigs, and everything works just great. Okay, and the next time we're gonna see how we can import some static meshes. It's not that different from the script, and then we can see how we can customize this later on how we can actually select and create modular character customizer with this editor utility assets. Thank you.